Amazon had a white paper on some of the tests that they ran years ago, and free shipping was by far the biggest lever. There wasn't anything even close into improving the conversion rates. And then I think distant second was speed, and so that is something that still pertains today.
Have you ever been so excited to buy a product, but when you go to check out, you see the shipping cost and or the timing and think, is it worth it? Maybe you walked away from buying that product because the cost of shipping outweighed the benefits of that product that you once were excited about to buy. Shipping and logistics are not sexy compared to a cool commercial that you've seen on TV, but shipping and logistics are vital to a buyer's experience. With the rise of Amazon, we expect fast shipping and cheap shipping. Understanding how to ship products to a customer and coordinating timing and budgets takes a lot of effort, but if you want to succeed, you need to understand shipping and logistics. Welcome to How to Market Your D2C Brand, a show where we interview founders and marketers in the D2C space to learn about how they have grown their brands and current best practices in marketing. This show is brought to you by Goodo Studios, a photo and video creation studio that works with consumer brands to make content that converts viewers into customers. And I'm your host, Matthew Gutozzi. Today's guest is Casey Armstrong, Chief Marketing Officer of ShipBob. ShipBob is an e-commerce fulfillment service for D2C businesses, and Casey works with many brands every day to show the power of how shipping and logistics can drastically change their business for the better. On ShipBob's website, there's a stat that says, with 2-day shipping as the standard, merchants have been able to reduce cart abandonment by 18% and increase average order value by 97%. I wanted to know, why does shipping change buyer behavior?
For a long time, I believe there was just uncertainty really on buying things online. That's obviously changed immensely over the last decade, where, I remember the first order I placed on eBay in the early 2000s and kind of crossed my fingers hoping that I'd actually receive the thing. Fast forward to even, the Kickstarter projects when they launched, and you'd back some pretty cool projects and then just kind of cross your fingers and hope that they actually were manufactured and delivered. And then now there's still a lot of first time buyers, but there's a lot of us that are maybe buying from different direct to consumer sites for the first time, not meaning the first time you bought from a D2C site, but from a specific company. And so the trust level that you will get your product and you'll get it in a timely manner, and people also like to buy where they're comfortable. And that's where I think giving this Amazon promise is what consumers expect. And there's a reason why Amazon's invested so heavily into fast shipping, but also free shipping. Their Amazon Prime program is just, masterclass in business execution. And that's one of the things we focus on at ShipBob is how can we hand that level of capabilities to a lot of these small brands, whether they're just getting started today or, they're doing, tens of millions online.
E-commerce and fast shipping has changed our relationship as consumers with companies and their product. I wanted to know how ShipBob is helping brands build brand loyalty with consumers through logistics and shipping.
Yeah, well, it's so time intensive, and it can be very, cost intensive or price intensive, and space intensive, like the fulfillment side. Where are you going to store this inventory? When and how are you going to pick and pack it? And again, I mentioned Amazon earlier. They've really pushed innovation forward at such a rapid pace in e-commerce, and now there's and built this customer expectation gap between the promise that they deliver on consistently and then what everybody else is trying to offer. And so we've been trained, better or worse, to expect that. We expect it to be free or cheap, and we expect it to be there very quickly. And so because people know that they can buy those things on Amazon, or at least buy the commodity version of what they're looking for, And I think one of the many benefits of COVID was people looking to support the small businesses directly, and then maybe they do start their search on Amazon and then try to find that brand directly. But I've done this as well, where you find the brand's website, it's difficult to check out, and then all of a sudden you get to the final page, and because of the shipping, you're like, well, this is going to take 7 days and cost me $15 to ship a $40 product. This doesn't make any sense. I'll just buy it on Amazon, which is unfortunate because it's less money going into the entrepreneur's pocket. Also, because a lot of the innovation with that companies like Shopify and BigCommerce have driven with the e-commerce platforms, along with the payment gateways from Stripe to PayPal to Apple to Google Pay, with the one-click checkout, you can go on these websites and purchase in minutes or less than minutes, um, just like you would on Amazon. But then there's this very disjointed experience where then it takes days or maybe weeks to receive the package. And so again, consumers just want that the very seamless experience across the whole journey.
I mean, I think that shipping it's you don't know what you're getting yourself into until you're getting yourself into it. And so, for brands that are looking to expand, looking to have that kind of seamless transition in terms of being able to scale their operations, what are some of those common like failures or things that pitfalls that brands have, and how can they actually get past those or prevent that from happening when it comes to shipping and logistics?
I'll actually go much more advanced and then bring it back to,
Perfect.
let's say, the getting started stage. So I was talking to a customer of ours a couple weeks ago, and she's been working with us for like 3 years, more or less when she launched her brand. And it was fascinating to hear how she was trying to improve or increase her revenue, where so many people focus on top of funnel, like I need to improve my Facebook marketing, or I need to improve my CRO, which you need to focus on those types of things as well. But what she was focusing on was um, the size and weight of the product that she was manufacturing, like much higher in the supply chain, because she knew from working with us over at ShipBob that her fulfillment costs are based off of the zones, and so that's how far it has to travel, and so that's where distributed inventory is important, and she's worked with us on that, but also the dimensional weight, and so it's based off of the size and the weight of the product. And so she knew that if she could make the same product at the same quality and it weighed slightly less and it was slightly smaller or could fit in a smaller box, that she'd save X cents or X dollars on every single shipment. And so that's the math that she was doing, because that money goes straight to the bottom line. And so she could either, again, pocket that money, she could funnel that money back up into sales and marketing, she could funnel that money into, maybe I don't know what if she was charging for shipping or not, but maybe then she could offer free shipping because all of a sudden her margins are better. And so it's just something that, again, it comes with time for these e-commerce sellers, but it's not always about improving your marketing or improving your conversion rates. There could be things from a product perspective to really move the needle in your revenue. And so for her, she's based in Southern California. She was shipping everything herself to start. So she's shipping these heavier products from SoCal across all of the US. And so half the shipments, are traveling across the entire United States. Well, that gets really expensive really quickly. And so just by a couple tweaks to, let's say, splitting her inventory on, being bi-coastal, or maybe a fulfillment center in SoCal, one on the East Coast and one in the middle of the United States, and then by being able to like reduce the dimensional weight of our product, all of a sudden her margins have greatly improved, while without even touching the marketing faucet.
Understanding shipping can help you as a business owner grow your bottom line by being efficient with logistics. But how can shipping drive your marketing?
Yes, because and if you look at a lot of the platforms, there's a reason why, or I should say channels, there's a reason why they've been investing into the shipping and fulfillment side, at least showcasing the shipping speeds and the shipping costs, because it's a huge driving factor. I forget when it was published, but Amazon had a white paper on some of the tests that they ran years ago, and free shipping was by far the biggest lever. There wasn't anything even close into improving the conversion rates. And then I think distant second was speed, and so that is something that still pertains today. And so whether you're marketing on Facebook or you're marketing on Google or your own website, and I've seen this firsthand from working with some of our customers, is what they showcase, whether it be free or fast and free shipping. It's just a huge lever. And then you look at some of the stuff that Facebook's been rolling out and Google's been rolling out with badging around free 2-day shipping or free 3-day shipping. There's a reason why these trillion-dollar companies are investing into something that's seemingly trivial, but does take a decent lift on their side, which is to showcase some of the stuff, and it is what consumers are looking for.
How are you helping brands, or what are some best practices brands are using ShipBob, using logistics shipping to their advantage, to grow their brand and to grow kind of their customer loyalty?
So I think there's a handful of items to call out there. It starts with when people are looking to work with us, we do what we call a time and transit analysis or T&T analysis. And we look at their historical shipping data from, and it's primarily based off of where their consumers are located to help them figure out what is the best way for them to split their inventory. And so some people just want to have one location, some have the volume to have multiple locations. And so where and how should they split their inventory? What would be most cost effective there? And so it starts there. After that, I'd say there's a handful of other areas that we really focus on. So one is channel expansion, and so let's say you're just selling through your Shopify or BigCommerce website. Well, what about Amazon? What about eBay? What about Walmart? Can you easily plug into those? And so from the same fulfillment provider, you're able to provide that because we're seeing brands, and I'm sure you're hearing the same, go omni-channel faster, much faster than prior. There was this Shopify plus Instagram window where that's all you needed with your tech stack, and then of course fulfillment, and then you could build a multi-billion dollar or multi-million dollar brand. But that's changed. There's just so much competition. So one, that's channel expansion. Two is just geo, and so we opened up a UK and Australia facility this year, so that brings our total international fulfillment count to 5. It's really how can we get the inventory closer to the end consumer globally as well. And then another focus area is B2B, and so we talked about the different channels, but what about retail? What about B2B to C, such as buying, through Walmart.com? And so that's another big focus area for us.
So you kind of talked about tech stack a little bit. I'm curious, how does ShipBob's connects like with other tech stacks to kind of create this seamless customer experience, whether that might be through like customer help desks, things like that. How do you guys connect with all these other marketing tech companies and things like that?
Yeah, so that's another core pillar of ours, which is our apps and integrations. And so we actually launched an app store in 2020. I think it's close to 40, 45 apps right now. And so of course there's those who you would expect. Again, the major platforms like Shopify, BigCommerce, WooCommerce, very quick integration, so you can start ingesting. So we can start ingesting orders. Then of course the channels. So Amazon, Walmart, eBay, and so forth. But then also there's the complementary technology. There is the inventory planners of the world where you need, of course, inventory management. There's Order Desk where you maybe need some order routing help. There's the IMS providers. There's the support partners like Gorgeous and others. And then there's others where there's some of my favorites are really our middleware or API partners like um, Alloy, where we don't know what our customers always want to do. And they really want to push the product in ways that we never imagined. And so that way it's easy, to connect to something like Alloy, which then is really, this middleware API layer that can connect into any product. And so again, it's just really opening up the box. So no matter what you're pushing into ShipBob, you can take out and like push into whatever channels or however you want to run your business.
What makes ShipBob stand out different than traditional 3PLs, other shipping, companies, and how do you help build this brand for ShipBob?
We want to make fulfillment as easy as it is, running your website. And so, when you launch your site, whether it be on WordPress and it's hosted on Media Temple, or pick your favorite hosting provider, or AWS, or you launch your Shopify store, you expect people that live next to you or on the other side of the world to be able to consume it as easily as possible. And so we really want to push fulfillment to be at that same level. And it's difficult because we're actually, storing and moving physical inventory. But that's where we're using a combination of technology and then our operations to make that possible. And so one day, in the hopefully not too distant future, customers can more or less just like inject their inventory, and then it's just spread around the world, even if they're just a smaller brand that's getting started, and then they can run that through their website and across all the channels that they'd like.
When I was recording this interview with Casey in July of 2021, ShipBob had just raised $200 million in a Series E round. I wanted to know what ShipBob had planned for the new capital and what we could expect for the future of fulfillment.
It just really allows us to accelerate the investment in a lot of the things I've talked about before. So, the overarching theme of, fast and affordable shipping, and so bringing that to our customers, and then investing very heavily into omni, into global, into B2B, into customization and custom unboxing and custom kitting and everything like that. And so, we just hiring more and investing heavily into those parts of the business.
I wanted to get away from just talking about shipping in this episode and tap into Casey's knowledge of marketing and D2C brands. He works with hundreds of companies and is seeing a lot of brands succeed and fail. I wanted to know, what are some common mistakes and challenges brands face early on when trying to scale, and how do they navigate through these challenges?
So I'll call it a couple items. One is the example I gave earlier. The woman who's really focusing on her products and COGS and what it took her to actually fulfill products. Because sometimes people will just focus on these more surface level or top of funnel numbers. And let's say you're driving $1 million in sales, but based off of manufacturing and fulfillment and marketing and everything else, it's costing you $1 million. And so you're netting nothing at the end of the day. Where, really understanding, the core fundamentals and economics of your business is paramount. And so many people just skip that stuff because it's like boring or hard, or maybe it tells an ugly story. But you've got to know you've got to know the economics of your business. And so I'd say that's first. And then number two is spreading themselves too thin, where they'll just read every blog post or tweet and podcast and whatever guru courses out there, and then they'll chase all these like shiny pennies of like the channels that they should be focusing on, where you can grow a really big business by just being very focused and nailing one or two channels for an extremely long time before you start to expand. And so maybe that is Facebook and it's really expensive. And at the same time, you're focusing on, depending on your product and if there's volume, like maybe it's something like SEO, or maybe it's, hey, it's how do we get into Walmart.com and then the Walmart store, and maybe that's just in the Midwest or the West Coast, and then start to spread from there. But I think, you can, what I love about e-commerce enablement technology today, the Shopify's, the ShipBobs, the Stripes of the world, is you can build these multi-million dollar businesses, or businesses making tens of millions of dollars, with a really small team, a team of, 2 or 20. And so anyways, it's just being really focused on what's working there.
What's your take on this kind of new world of privacy, customer data, and what would you advise brands to think about as they're kind of restructuring maybe how they're doing a lot of their marketing, in terms of getting their name out, and voice out to some of these channels?
Um, I don't I'm not the right person to ask about the iOS updates, but just in general, again, I think with COVID, it really pushed a lot of people to focus on community building and in creating that close relationship with your customers. And I think this just further accelerates that, where people need to make sure that I think one of the biggest winners in this space is like Klaviyo and email marketing tools. And again, it's just building more of that relationship with your customers is very important. I mean, that's very obvious, but that's also why a lot of people are scared or maybe don't sell too much on Amazon as well, is because you don't have that all that information.
If a brand was like, okay, Casey, that's great advice. I got to start, building community. What are some like pillars to think about, or even some tacticals to think about as a brand can start building community? Because I think that's valuable. But what would you do if you were in their shoes and saying, hey, it's time to build some community?
So I helped run a company called Paleo Hacks for a while, and it was all community driven. Um, it's tough, and so I don't know if I have like, there's no, of course, I don't know, silver bullet. But what I will say is, like, if you're going to do it, you need to take it seriously and like invest in it for the long term. And I think it needs to be founder led. It's not something that can be outsourced. I've seen that time and time again, where people are like, I just want to hire a community manager and hand it off. Like if the founder, depending on the size of the company, if the founder's not invested into building it and building it out and like taking it very seriously and bringing in the community as like part of the journey for the brand, it's just not going to work. It's not like some set and forget thing like Facebook ads.
Since Casey is interacting with lots of brands, I wanted to see if there were any interesting insights that he had on what has been working for some of the brand's marketing that maybe you could adopt for your own brand.
SMS, I think, is still highly neglected, and doing SMS the right way. I also think utilizing SMS, the where you can purchase via SMS, is just so massively underutilized. The brand that I always call out is Verb Energy. I think they do it the best, where like I buy so much more because it's as easy as just a text message. They know when I'm, let's say, running low on their protein bars, and it's just a text. Where if it got stuck in my email, or I had to remember, or just another subscription, it would just be so lost. And so if you look at some of the data out there, like Commerce Stacks put out a pretty good their annual report on usage across PostScript and Tentive and others. SMS is so massively underutilized, and it's such a small fraction of that actually use SMS for payments. And so I think that's one channel. And then another is finding ways to sell with like-minded brands. This is a really tough item to crack, and usually one of the brands uh, is the outsized winner compared to the other. Um, but there is software popping up to allow this to be done even easier. Companies like Honeycomb and others. I saw CrossNet and Black Wolf do this recently, where they started doing some co-branded products, um, and and then also upselling and cross-selling their products as well. And again, while the fulfillment experience might be disjointed because I don't think they use the same provider, they're marketing together. And so I think the cost in Facebook going up, can be a positive constraint, because it's just going to force a lot more creativity and innovation, both from the e-commerce enablement tools, but also all the brands.
So let's jump into some quick fire questions, because you're kind of jumping on or talking about some tech companies and things that people are using, or some tech software that's popping up. For you, what is one tech company in the e-commerce space that you've been a fan of lately, and why?
ShipBob. um, let me think. I'll actually give, maybe this is kind of a blend between tech and a D2C brand. There's a company called
Sure.
Elix. It's ELIQS. And so something that I thought that they've done very interesting is what they're trying to do is build Printful for alcohol. And so I'm sure you're familiar with Printful, the print on demand
Yeah.
swag, but they're bringing that to, if you want beer or spritzers or wine coolers, but you want it for your company, or you want to launch your own brand, or you're hosting an event or a wedding. And so I think it's pretty cool what they built there, because alcohol is so highly regulated. Um, for them and to launch a company that produces these goods is really difficult. And so they're allowing these people to launch it very quickly. And then also the logistical hurdles are very complex. And so they're taking that off your plate as well. And so I'll call them out. I think it's pretty cool what they've done.
What's one like DTC brand that's like up and coming, or not, but like that you think is just completely awesome and you would want to give them a shout out? Like, and why are they super interesting to you, or why are you excited about their product?
So there's probably quite a few there, or there are quite a few there. I mean, uh, I'll just mention, Verb Energy, who I mentioned before, where I love just the simplicity in the thinking behind the brand, which is really, I want a protein bar or something that's more natural to start the day or in the middle of the day, and I want caffeine. And so let's just blend the two. And like that's the whole premise behind the brand. And so I think a lot of times people overthink things, but that is just such a straightforward value prop. And so, anyways, I'll give them the shout out to that.
I finish off the podcast with a segment called Open Mic. This is a chance for my guests to share anything they want. A lot of times I feel like people kind of get stuck behind the industry they are in, but we are all human and have other interests outside of this. So this is a space for guests to say whatever they want to say.
For this, I'll call out. So there's a book called by Stephen Pressfield called The War of Art, and it's cited quite a bit out there. But it's really like take resistance and punch it in the face. And so maybe this is also me talking to myself. But if you've got that idea or want to launch a product or launch something within the company you're at, don't let fear get in the way. Just you know do it. So, and if it doesn't work, that's fine. You learn something and try again.
This conversation with Casey helped me understand how shipping and logistics can drive buyer behavior as well as increase your bottom line if you understand how to utilize logistics to your advantage. You can follow Casey on Twitter at Casey A, and there will be more information about ShipBob linked in the show notes. Thank you, Casey, for being on this show. If you like this show, please drop a rating on Apple Podcasts or your podcast listening app. And if you really love this show, please share this episode with a friend. Thanks in advance.